we're going to talk about the retirement application process and timeline. We're going to start off talking about understanding your retirement income, and then we're going to move forward to how to maximize your retirement benefit. And then we're going to talk about how to choose the best retirement date for you. And then what is the process of completing and submitting your retirement application packet. So, understanding your retirement income. One very important question you need to ask yourself is where your money will come from. Generally, it will come from these four places: your MCERA monthly pension, Social Security, other savings investments. That can also include not just savings account, but if you have another 401k or a 457B plan, those kind of savings and investments. And then also there is the possibility that you might decide to help your income to get a little bit more money to work part-time when you retire. So the first step in understanding how much you have is to run some benefit estimates. Here at MCERA, you can use Member Direct and you can run your own benefit estimates. You can also request up to 3 estimates from MCERA by completing a retirement benefit estimate consultation request form. Now I have links here in these slides. We're going to make the slides available to you later, so you can download that and you can click on those links. You're also going to want to get estimates from other pensions, including reciprocal agencies. So if you're going to be retiring from us and say Sonoma County, you'll want an estimate from both places so you can get the total picture. You want to go to Social Security. I have a link here, but it's under My SSA. They've recently updated their website, but you can run estimates there. And you also want to estimate how much income you'll be able to take from your other retirement accounts, such as 457Bs, 401ks, and IRAs, which is an individual retirement account. And then the second step is to estimate your expenses, because they don't go away. So think about housing, how much you're going to have to spend on that. Medicare premiums, or if you're not yet eligible for Medicare, how much is your health insurance going to cost you? Taxes, food, emergency expenses. Will you have enough to cover an emergency that comes up? Entertainment and travel. Okay. So if you're looking at the numbers and they seem a little short, how can you address that? If your estimated expenses exceed your anticipated income, you have a shortfall, and you need to address a shortfall before you retire. Some ways to do that are to pay down debt so your post-retirement expenses are lower and your retirement income will go further. Consider working longer so your retirement income will be higher. As Judy said in the previous presentation, that's the best way to increase what your retirement benefit is going to be. So not only will your MCERA pension increase, but your Social Security will also likely increase. Working longer gives you more time to save for retirement and more time for the earnings on those savings to compound. And then, as I mentioned before, it's something we don't want to think about, but consider working part-time in retirement and look for work before you retire. Right. So we were talking about Member Direct and how you can run estimates there. I know a lot of you do have accounts because you signed up through Member Direct, but for those of you who don't, the way that you can sign up is you go to our webpage, and on the side there you see it says Member Direct. You'll click on that, and then you're going to want to click on Member Direct Login right here. Once you do that, this is what you're going to see. You'll see a little information about why register as a member, which means as an active member. Tells you what you can do here. You can view your information, estimate benefits, download and complete forms, and also view and register for upcoming seminars. Once you retire, Member Direct, what you can do there is going to change. You'll be able to view your payment history and receipts. You can also view your tax withholding and other deductions. You'll be able to update your tax withholding in Member Direct. You can also update your personal information. It says here you can update your direct deposit information, but you cannot. You can update your tax withholding, but not your direct deposit. We still require a signature for that. All right, so you're going to click on Enroll Now, and then you're going to be brought to this page. You see I have a little hand there, and it says Request for your PIN to be sent to you. You'll need to click on that first, and that will take you to the next page, which just asks for this information when you request a PIN. It's going to send us a notification. We will send you a PIN letter. Once you receive that, you'll go back to here, fill out all this information, and click Enroll. Okay, and so now maximizing your retirement benefit. How can you do that? There's several ways. The first is based on your age factor, which is based on your age at your date of retirement. So did you know that your benefit goes up every quarter year? So that multiplier that Judy was talking about, it raises every quarter year. And for an example, if you were born on January 15th, your age factor will increase on every year on January 15th, April 15th, July 15th, and October 15th. It's kind of fun to try. If you go into Member Direct and you start running an estimate, you could run an estimate for, say, so you're born on January 15th. Run one for January 13th, January 14th, and January 15th, and you'll see how much of a bigger jump it is on your birthday. All right. While it does increase, this is capped by your membership tier. So general tier 1 and 3, the unenhanced part of your benefit, will be capped at age 65. For 1 and 3 enhanced, it's capped at age 62. For general tier 4, it's capped at 67. For safety and probation tiers 1 and 2, it's capped at age 55. And for safety and probation tier 3, it's capped at 57. What cap means is it stops going up at that point. All right, so vacation cash out. If you have vacation and you are a legacy member, as Judy mentioned earlier, those are employees who became members prior to January 1st, 2013. Your vacation cash out is included in your final average salary, once again, for legacy members only. So that includes general tiers 1 and 3, safety tiers 1 and 2, and probation tiers 1 and 2. And there is a limit. It's up to your bargaining group's memorandum of understanding, MOU limit, in any 12-month period. Another way is service credit. So one thing we advise is for you to complete any available purchases. So if you have part-time or extra help service prior to membership, which includes the first pay period before membership. I don't know if you remember when you first were hired, you didn't pay contributions in that first pay period. That's eligible for you to purchase if you're interested. Also, if you have any leave without pay, including medical leave or military leave, you weren't making contributions, normally you wouldn't get credit for that, but you can make those contributions and interest and get credit for that period of time. Also, if you previously worked for the county and then you withdrew those funds, you have the opportunity to redeposit those funds. So that can greatly increase your benefit, especially if you did have service as a legacy member and now you're a PEPR member. Doing that, you'll also have to pay for the difference in contributions since the time you've been working as a PEPR member, but that can greatly increase your benefit. Enhancement of service. We offered this primarily, it was popular right after the enhancement happened that Judy mentioned about, which was January 1st, 2002 for the department heads, management, confidential unit members, and then for SEIU members, October 1st, 2003. But what you can do is you can pay to make all that time before that the same benefit formula as the time after that. At this point, it's been a lot of time since then, so it may be quite pricey, but it is an option. And then we were talking, somebody had a question earlier about sick leave hours remaining at retirement. So any remaining sick leave that you have, you don't get paid out for it, but it is converted to service credit, and it will increase the total service credit used to calculate your retirement benefit. In some cases, especially tends to be our safety members, this can be a lot of sick leave. So that is another way to increase your retirement benefit. Just to help it make a little more sense, 2,080 hours equals 1 year of service credit if you want to try and do the math yourself. All right, so let's talk about choosing your retirement date. So one thing to think about is timing requirements. So if you are an active member, the way that it works is your separation date from the county is the last day of the pay period in which you stop working. So I have a little kind of calendar example here, and we'll say that the pay period here starts on this Sunday, and then it goes all the way to this Saturday over here. So sorry, that would be before that. Sorry, I don't want to confuse you. So let's just say this is the last day of the pay period here. Your last day of work is on the Wednesday. That is not your separation date. It won't be until that Saturday. So you would retire on the next day, which is a Sunday. If you work after your date of retirement, be aware you will be required to submit a new retirement application. For deferred members, it doesn't matter. You can pick any date because you don't have to worry about when the county separates you from employment. Second thing, this is primarily for our legacy members, but it's one that we hear a lot about. The cost of living adjustment, or COLA date, which is April 1st of each year. And once again, COLAs are only available to legacy members, which includes general tiers 1 and 3, safety tiers 1 and 2, and probation tiers 1 and 2. In order to be eligible to receive the COLA for that particular year, you have to retire on or before April 1st. So this year, the last day of the pay period before April 1st is March 18th. So we have several people retiring on March 19th so that they will get that cost of living adjustment on April 1st. You need to consider your date of separation and not the last day of work. As I said, in order to be eligible this year, you would have to retire on the 19th, because if you retired later than that, you would go into April. All right, next slide. Another thing to think about is understand when you will be paid. So the way that we pay benefits once a month on the last banking day of the month. So let's say you pick that date of March 19th to retire. You're not going to receive your first paycheck until the end of April on the last banking day of the month, which is the 28th this year. Your first check will be larger. The first month will be prorated. But it's something to think about. If you have a lot of vacation time, realize that when you quit employment, you're going to get paid out with vacation term pay in your last check, so that can help bridge the gap a little bit. All right, next we're going to talk about completing and submitting your retirement application packet. So you can download or request a service retirement application packet from our website. You can download a copy for Member Direct. You can request an application via email, or you can request that a paper application be mailed to you. Once you receive that, you'll need to complete these forms. There's a lot in the packet, including policies, forms, and information. But these are the forms that we will need to receive from you. Your application for service retirement, your benefit payment option election, your burial benefit beneficiary designation, retired member beneficiary designation, return to work acknowledgement, direct deposit authorization, and the federal W-4P and California DE-4P tax forms. And then optionally, AMCRE, which stands for Association of Mendocino County Retired Employees, has an application for membership and authorization for deductions that you can complete if you're interested in that. You'll want to gather all your required documents. Sometimes this can throw people if they don't have the correct documents. We will need your identification. You can choose from either a certified copy of your birth certificate, your passport or your passport card, or a real ID. If you have a beneficiary who will be receiving a continuance, we will also need a certified copy of their birth certificate, a copy of their passport or passport card, or real ID. If you are receiving a unmodified option and you're leaving a continuance to a spouse or registered domestic partner, we will need a copy of their marriage certificate or California certificate of registration of domestic partnership. Now, we just changed our policy where we used to have to see the original, but now we allowed you to provide a copy with a certificate attestation for each copy of a form or document. What that does is you sign it saying that this is a copy of the original document. All right, other required documents. So if you happen to have gone through a divorce or a dissolution of your registered domestic partnership, we need some paperwork before you're eligible to either retire or withdraw your funds. If in your split, your ex-spouse or ex-partner gave you 100% of your benefit, we will need to see that in a judgment and settlement agreement. If there is some kind of split that needs to happen, you will need a domestic relations order. This is kind of a complex process. Judy went into it a little bit. You'll need to contact us because we will need to be what's called joined in on the process. Just give us a call and we will work through that with you. So once you've got everything together, you're ready to submit it. How do you submit it? Schedule an appointment. If you have a registered, if you're married or have a registered domestic partner, bring them with you to your appointment. We have one form, the benefit option election, that your spouse will need to sign, and they can do it in front of us or in front of a notary. So if you're here locally and you're going to stop by, that's a great way to do it. Just bring them with you to that appointment. You can also submit your application by mail, but be aware in that case, your spouse or RDP signature on the benefit option election must be notarized. Also be aware that we cannot accept applications by email or fax because we still need your wet signature. And I know Judy answered this one a little bit earlier, but we'll go over it again real quick. When do you submit your application? No sooner than 60 days prior to your retirement date, and then no later than the day before your retirement date. And I mentioned that for active members, the end of a pay period is on a Saturday, so your retirement date would be a Sunday. Just be aware that we're closed on Saturdays. Right? Well, what else do you need to do? Don't forget to provide written notice to your employer of your separation date. This is important because if you are not officially separated from the county or RRCD or the courts, you cannot retire while you're still actively working. So we will have to cancel your retirement. So make sure that that gets to your employer. Contact any systems you have reciprocity with and apply to retire on the same date with each system. You're going to want to apply for Medicare or set up health insurance coverage. And also, a lot of you that do have Member Direct, and I get it, it's a lot easier. You'll use right now you're using your work email. Make sure to change that to your personal email address because otherwise you won't be able to access some of the information. Right. And then after all of that, congratulations, you're retired. All right. Now I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
All right, Nora, we have a couple questions.
Okay.
Couple from Anonymous. The first one is, will all sick time at time of retirement be credited to your retirement? For example, if you have 6 months of sick time, will that extend your date?
Okay, so it doesn't work that way. It's a great question. So your sick leave is converted to service credit, but only in our calculation. It doesn't it's only in the calculation. It doesn't, you can't use that as actual time to like push out your date or anything like that. It's just part of the calculation. Does that make sense?
All right. And then another is, what is the time limit on dissolution paperwork or the need for dissolution paperwork?
We need it before you retire or before you withdraw your funds. It's just the law here in California that we can't give you your benefit or a refund until we get that.
All right, we have another one. Can you have more than one beneficiary? That's coming from Marnie Elder.
Yes. So Judy kind of mentioned a little bit about the benefit, or not a little bit, a lot about the benefit options. So one thing, for example, say you're taking the unmodified option, and I always counsel this. You saw we had in there the retired member beneficiary designation form. Well, Lord forbid, but say you and your spouse were in a car accident and you still have contributions. You'd want to have other beneficiaries, like maybe you could leave your 2 kids as the alternate beneficiaries and the money would go to them. Also, alternatively, option 4 allows you to provide a continuance to multiple people. So there's different ways that you can do that.
All right, I'm giving a 3-minute warning.
Okay.
From Anonymous. I got divorced 100 years ago. You still need the dissolution papers.
Okay, so we need the paperwork if you were married to that person while you were employed with Mendocino County or the courts or Russian River Cemetery District. If it happened before you started working or became a member, we don't need to worry. You don't need to worry about it. It's only if you were married or in a registered domestic partnership during the period of your employment with one of our plan sponsors.
A question from Leaf. Are you paid for all your remaining vacation, or just what can be earned in a given year?
Um, you mean in the vacation? Okay, so in the vacation cash out, that the what can be earned in a given year has to do with that, and that's part of your MOU as well. So if you, for example, this was an issue. So if you work it so, or if you try to work it so you like say um, your MOU says you can cash out 80 hours a fiscal year, for example. If you tried to do it so you have 80 hours in February and then another 80 hours in November, technically that's allowed by your MOU. But if you end up with more than like see if you have a 3-year final average salary and by creative manipulation of vacation cash outs, you think you're going to have 4 of them included, you won't. One of them will be disallowed. So you're only allowed like for a 3-year final average salary to have 3 in that salary period that we calculate. With regards to your vacation term pay, as far as I understand, you're just paid out everything that you have left from vacation at the end of your employment.
Okay, and we have a couple questions about the same topic. If you're divorced and your former spouse is deceased, would a member need to submit a certified death certificate instead of dissolution
Yeah,
paperwork,
that
or
that
in
would be
addition to?
that would no, we would just need the death certificate.
And Kimberly asks, if you retire in December, does that mean you do not get the COLA for the next year?
Oh, you do. You do. It's just you wouldn't get it. So if you retired in December of this year, you wouldn't get the one that happened back in April. You would get the one in the following April. So one of the things about the cost of living adjustment right now, there is a limit, as Judy mentioned earlier, of 3%. As we all know, inflation was way higher than that the past couple of years. So what happens in that situation is the excess is put into what's called a bank. And so while the maximum is 3%, let's say a couple of years from now, when there was 1% inflation, we would pull 2 from that bank. And so you would get 3%, while say new retirees would only get 1%. So sometimes if there's something like that, it might make it worth it to retire early. So
And it looks like Doris is raising her hand to
yes,
ask.
Doris.
I wanted to mention on the question about the divorce and the ex had already passed. Depending on the terms of the domestic relations order, the benefit that may have been assigned to the ex-spouse would be
Okay.
payable to their beneficiary or their estate, and we would need both the dissolution document and the death certificate.
Good point. Good point. Thank you.
We have another question, just real quick. If someone sends in their divorce paperwork to change their beneficiaries, will they need to provide it again?
Once we have, so we image all the documents that we get. If it happens, somebody will be like, oh, we'll need this just because we know we need it. If you mention that we've already sent it in, we'll look for it and say, okay, we have it. We don't need it again.
Okay, and for clarification, does vacation get credited to retirement?
No. No, the only time it is can be used is during those vacation cash outs and only for legacy members.
All right, and one more question from an anonymous attendee. How is the final average salary calculated if I have reciprocity with another system but haven't worked for Mendocino County for 3 years at the
Sure.
time of retirement?
Sure. So that's one of the nice things about reciprocity. Wherever your highest salary is, that's a salary that all the systems that you're reciprocal with will use. So what happens is once we, like, say I am, so you're saying you worked for somewhere else, right? And you submit a retirement application for us, and I know you have reciprocity with CalPERS. I send some paperwork to CalPERS requesting their salary from them. They will send that to me, and that's how we get your salary.
All right, and I think that's time. Mary, I will answer your question via text.
Thank you, everyone.